Hey, everyone, and welcome to episode number 60. Yes, I said 60 of the Chris Rose Rotation, a production of JOMBOY Media, and we circle back to the guy that was our first ever co-host way back when.
I forgot. Yeah, I was number one, wasn't I?
You were right out of the gate there, Trevor May of the New York Mets. How you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
I am great. Can you believe we made it 60 episodes so far? They haven't canceled us yet.
I can't believe it. The beauty is no one can cancel you. You can just keep doing this, you know? Even if Jumbo's like, hey, take that out, you're like, no. And then there you go.
I never thought of it that way. I like that. I think we have to hand out, you are the best athlete award of our Rose Rotation members after what happened a few weeks ago on your I'm not going to call it a failed attempt because it was such an amazing attempt.
Yeah, no one was moving. I literally look, if you look up in the corner there, VR didn't move a step either. Like neither one, him or the catcher, no one moved. So I was like, oh, well, Jesus Aguilar, let's not give him extra pitches to see, please. That'd be great.
I mean, that was an all-out sprint. How winded were you after that?
I was just mad. I was mad I didn't catch it. I was running on a lot of adrenaline. I didn't care about the run at all, even though I don't run hard in any short distances ever. But yeah, I was just mad that I dropped it or didn't get there. There. See, I got caught between wanting to dive straight up head first, like Superman style, or to slide. Like had I just gone straight up, just forward and just went for it, I would have caught it. It probably would have looked awesome.
As you were walking back to the mound, was there any part of you that said, oh my God, how much play is this going to get on social
100%.
media?
I knew immediately. I was like, content. I can't wait to post that later. See that little freeze frame right there? That's my display picture.
Yes, it is. It is excellent. It really is good. That's a big man tumbling, by the way.
That is. My wrist did not feel good after that either. I was pretty sore the next day. I actually didn't pitch because I couldn't catch the ball. But we got ice on it. We did a bunch of treatment the next day. It was like 80% gone. So, but I literally was down the next day pitching because my wrist was sore.
Oh. I forgot. Did you ever play football?
I did until 10th grade. Then I stopped. Baseball.
Even though you were a monster back then.
I was a big guy, but I was a quarterback, and our football program was like just handed to our running back and stand there. So it wasn't very fun to be a quarterback for Kelso High School. So I was like, doesn't really mean a lot to me. So we'll just play baseball during this time. That's what happened.
Could you throw it all? Like I imagine you could.
Oh yeah. I would go home in the off season and when I was in the minors, and they probably wouldn't like that I'm saying this, but all my friends were in a fraternity and they'd play the flag football fraternity games, and then they just I could be the ringer, be the quarterback, and just drop back and throw. Oh, well, not only that, then they'd have me run out and just be bigger than everybody. And
you were that guy. I used to go against guys like that all the time and get so pissed out. So here you are, pro athlete, coming home and being the ringer of the flag football team.
Yeah, exactly.
Jerk.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
Well, nothing's gone on with the Mets since we last spoke. It's been very quiet.
Yeah, very quiet now.
Where do we begin? I guess let's begin with the most recent, since JOMBOY did a 15-minute breakdown on the whole whistle situation.
Yeah.
15-minute.
Oh, trust me. They talked about it on the broadcast for about an hour yesterday. So
did you have any idea why there was a dust up on the field when you were sitting in the bullpen?
We knew about the whistling thing from the day before. So, but we didn't know. We assumed it had something to do with that. And I guess it turns out that Wandy, who is pitching, is the guy who whistles.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that either. None of us knew that he's like the one that's really good at whistling. But I guess it's just something that they said that it's something he does. And to be honest, like a lot of this stuff is a lot of the stuff we're doing is just fire them up such stuff. Like it's like they could have been doing that. We don't know for sure, but I'm gonna take it personally anyways, just in case they were. I'm just not gonna let it slide. And then they were like, I don't really know what you're talking about. Like, you know what I mean? It was a little bit of communication, distance communication seemed like, but it didn't really matter. Like there didn't actually. It was a Michael Jordan situation. Does that make sense? Like we saw something, we used it as fuel, and Frankie used his fuel for that game. So, and he does that. Like, I mean, to be honest, last year he had the running thing with Romo last year, and he used it as motivation every time he went out. There was a little extra he had against Romo. I've talked to him specifically about other guys on the Twins that he secretly had like internal vendettas with that they didn't know about, that like he like wanted to beat them a little bit extra just because of something they did earlier in their career, even if it was minimal. He sometimes does, like, he's able to do that a little bit, like just kind of make up a little bit, maybe embellish the story a little bit in your head just to like get a little extra when you're facing that guy or facing that team. Because to play this game, I'm going to be honest, you got to find it. You got to create pools of energy in places. And sometimes it comes down to just be like, that guy doesn't like me, even though you have no idea if he does or not. I have a couple of those guys, hitters, where there's some like they look back at me or something all the time. But I think it's just what they do, and it's not has anything to do with me. But I just see it as like, why does this guy not? I've assumed for years that they just don't like me a little bit more than just your regular guy that they don't face that often.
Is there one guy you can tell us, like maybe he's retired and moved on or doesn't play anymore?
To be honest, off the top of my head, I can't think of anyone who's retired that I'll still playing. So I'll keep. But like again, like I don't even know. It's like you noticed it once, like in 2012,
yeah,
and then you played against him again 8 years later, and you're like, does he still not? But then you realize that you don't even know if he didn't like you from the beginning. So if like you were on the same team, you asked him about it, and they'd be like, no, I don't. What? I've never even thought that in my life. You're like, wow, that was so. It's just so sports. Like you have to find competitive ways to compete that way.
Oh, it's funny because in 2010, I was covering the World Series for Fox, and that was the first year the Rangers had made it. And Mike Napoli, I was doing like pre-World Series interviews, and I had a sit down with Ian Kinsler. And somehow the topic of Mike Napoli had come up because he had just come over to the Rangers and been such a big part of their team. And Kinsler was like, yeah, Napoli and I hated each other when he was with the Angels. I was like, really? He goes, yeah. I hated the way that he always had his jersey unbuttoned to like his navel, because I thought it was totally tired. And he hated me because every time I'd like pop a ball up or miss a pitch,
throw his bat.
He'd throw his bat and put his head down. You know how Kinsler used to do that?
Yeah.
He goes, we hated each other's
antics.
And now he's like, we're best friends. And I think that happens so much with teams, is that you despise a guy and then he comes in your clubhouse. You're like, you're awesome.
It happens enough too, to where you're like, you assume you're like, that guy's probably awesome to have on your team, just not fun to play against. And there's an element like the 2015 Blue Jays with JD and Tony Batista, Joey Bats, and Jose Batista, and Encarnacion and Tulo at the end of the year. Like everyone, they were really easy to hate. Like but that was part of their thing. But again, any of those guys, like I've heard nothing but good things about. I played with JD, and I've never heard nothing but good things about Joey Bats and Encarnacion. Like they're great guys, like good leaders and good teammates, and but just together that was their shtick. But I played against teams like that all the time. We used to think we were always like, with the Fetty Wap thing with freaking Kansas City, and we're just like, dude. But it was there, like we hated them because they beat us all the time, and then that was just part of like something you had to hear all the time when you played them. And it became synonymous with like getting beat by a good team. And so it's like we create these things in our head, guys that we're just like out on. And it happens all the time. You're like, I'm out on that guy. I'm tired of that. Like that's stupid. Walking around the mound, or guys who strut a little bit differently, or you're young, whatever. Guys who seem like, I don't know, there's some weird things that I key on, especially. I'm like, why does this? Like at very first, when I played against Stroh in the minors, I was like, man, that's a lot. That's a lot. But I love Stroh. Like, and to be honest, as I've gotten older and realized like how purposeful all of it is, like I'm all in on it. Like, do whatever you want. Like, I used to think that there was a way that you had to do things, and now I'm just like, whatever makes you happy, man. Because this game, like, if you're out here just doing things to do them, just to like fit in, like to maintain the quota, the game will eat you alive. That is something that I have learned from New York City, 100%.
Well, but it's interesting because I think a lot of even a half generation up from you will look at a guy like Marcus Stroman and be like, God, it's so tired. Like, I hate that expression. That's so tired. You don't know what's going through his brain or what he needs to. Guys, what is he, 5'9", maybe?
Yeah. And, yeah, well, I'm out there talking to myself all the time. Like, I could see people thinking I'm tired. And you just got to be okay with that. I guarantee you there's players who are like, nah, May's tired. I'm tired of that stick. I'm tired of his video game streaming. Like, it's irrational. It's not rational. But it's funny when you say tired, when you're like, it's just tired, you're like admitting that it's not rational. And that you're just
it's almost like a default mechanism, to be honest.
It's a default mechanism. We're like, I don't like that guy. And you can find the guy not to like. And then now when he comes up, you have a little bit, you can go get a little extra against him. Sometimes you can do that with, especially like the young guys. I think that's big right now, like with Soto and with Acuna, and because they have lots, and Tatis, there are lots of swag and stuff. So there's a little bit extra. When you face them, because wow, they're really freaking good. They're insane players, but like it's just like a little, like denying the swag is also part of wanting to beat them, not just beating them. It's just extra. You want to do a little bit extra against those guys, but that's been here since the beginning of time. I'm sure way back, people wanted to punch Reggie Jackson out like crazy. You know what I mean?
Start with the guys that played with him.
Exactly. Like it's just, this is how you play 162 games this season, man. You go, you can even attribute it to the thumbs down thing. It was just another way to just be like, we're getting punched in the face right now. We got to, commandeer some of these things to be a positive force.
All right, we got a lot to get to because you mentioned all of it right there, but let's keep going. Did it enter your brain at all that if things had escalated between the Mets and the Yankees, sometimes you got to find the guy your size to go fight? And I look at your team and it's like you and Familia, and then I look at their team and it's like Judge, Stanton. They've just got some monsters. Like, who would you have had to line up against?
I'm probably trying to be a buffer between Judge, Stanton, and everybody else. Unfortunately, Stanton's one of the fired up guys too. You don't want that guy angry. I actually joked with Hand. I was like, Hand, you were getting ready to blindside him, right? Like, just in case. He's like, absolutely not. I would have bounced off that guy like a. I'm like, you had the angle though. He turned around, like you had the blind side. You could have made the whole thing go. And he's like, I'm glad I didn't, because I just gave it. He's like, I wasn't really in a position to tackle the guy that just, I'm like, I knew you weren't gonna, but I just think it would be funny. I line up with those guys. It's funny though. I quietly outweigh them. So,
all right. No, you don't outweigh Aaron Judge.
Probably not Judge. He's probably got 10 pounds on me, but I think he's like 6'8", 260. I'm 252 pounds. So
are you really?
I outweigh Stanton. He's like 240. I'm a very, very dense person. And I think people who have collided with me in the last 5 years realize that, like, you don't move. I'm like, it's just a lot of solid stuff that doesn't shift very much.
You're the size of some defensive ends.
I'm 6'5", 250. Yeah, like the guys are like DK Metcalf is 6'4", 235. I'm like, I'm an inch taller and have 15 pounds on that guy, and look how big he looks. Right?
How are your abs though compared to his?
Yeah, no, we're not close there.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Not yet. Not until after this offseason.
Overall, the 3-game set against the Yankees at Citi Field, with all the emotions that played into it, how appreciative are you that you got to play in it?
I'm appreciative that I got to play in it. I'll be honest. I had a really high stress level going, like just in general. Like I was just kind of like for a couple of days going up to it, because we had a pretty stressful road trip where we needed to win every single game.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going into pretty much every time I pitched, it was just like, no room for error. You got to get out of this, or you're gonna get decimated here. And so there was a lot of like brain energy going into that, and it was to the point where you're like, there's no way to calm myself. Like, it's really hard to explain, but I made sure when I ran out there, and like I really took in the before the game stuff, ceremonies, took in like the crowd and stuff, because that is like the pinnacle right there. Mets, Yankees, with both fan bases can't decide who they want to boo and who. Some of the funniest. There were some of the most ironic like situations those games that were hilarious to me, and just not lost on us out there on the team, and on a lot of people, just like how boos were being shifted. Like, we want to boo them, our players. Sometimes we also want to boo you guys who are booing our players. Like, no, you can't boo them. We can boo them, but you can't. Like, it was really funny. And I know a lot of that was happening. Like, people were having that, like, like, what do we do? But I made sure I took it in. And I'm extremely thankful, even though I did not get it out. And it was probably one of my more embarrassing outings I've ever had. That was like my biggest fear. I was like, let's not go into the 8th inning and let's do it. Like, and then it just started to build to that. I was like, it's just destiny. There was a comment out. I don't know if you're going to ask me about it, but the comment about Yankee Stadium that one of our less than attention to detail reporters decided was the main part of the story, the question when I answered it, which it 100% was not, but decided to take in the context because that was going to get his paper clicked on more. Made this huge controversy out of nothing again that just made me mad. How it was handled made me mad, not actually what was said. So all that combined into that out, I was just like, just try to enjoy it and know that this is an opportunity that, like, you're from a small town in Washington State. Like, now you're pitching in the Subway Series game with an NYFD hat on, and on September 11th, 20th anniversary, where I was in the Twin Towers 2 months before they went down, visiting. So I don't know. It was just a really crazy time in my life. It's crazy come full circle and like see it, like all that, and be part of it, even if like the results weren't there on the mound. Sure.
So, wow, you must have been
11, 12, 11 when I was. Well, it would have been was 2001. So it was 2 weeks before my 12th birthday. So I was 11.
And you were just there on a family trip?
My sister went to University of Delaware. And she was a junior that year. And it was the end of the summer. She had just moved back to school. So we started school late. So actually, yeah, we started like mid-September in Washington. So it was like right up to school. And we went and visited, and then we went all up and down. So we saw all the schools in the Colonial Conference. We went and saw, like, went to Boston. We went to New York City. We went all over the place and stayed in Super 8s the whole time.
Got it. Perfect. Did you even? I don't think I ever talked to anybody who saw the world at 9/11 through an 11-year-old lens. What was it like?
Yeah. It was. I remember my mom waking us up at like 9:50 or 6:50 in the morning, West Coast. Just turn on. She said, "Hey, you should come downstairs." And I was there. My brother was 17, so we were both sitting on the couch, just like, not really grasping what it meant. And then she just asked, "You guys want to go to school?" And we decided to go a little late, like stay home till about 9, and we showed up, and like no one was there. And they just put down the projectors and put up the TV, and we just watched the news all day and talked about what it is, like what's going on. Yeah. Basically, it was just being explained to us all day.
I was we had just started the Best Damn Sports Show period about 2 months, less than 2 months before. And my oldest son, who's about to turn 21, was 10 months old. And I remember holding him in my arms as I'm watching what's transpiring. And I get into work, and somebody said, "Hey, did you hear? We think that Tommy Pecorelli was on the first plane." And that was one of our camera people on the show. And so we're all trying to verify what had happened. And word came down, and the place was just crushed. A guy who was my age, who was trying to get home from a wedding in Boston, to see his pregnant wife, who was not allowed to fly.
Wow.
And had changed, I believe, and I'm not 100% sure, I believe he had changed his flight to that so that he could get home earlier. And
that's awful.
When I tell you that there's probably a handful of times, I would say probably at least once a month, where I think of Tommy. We were not best friends, but we were friendly. And he was very funny and a huge Boston sports fan. And I think about all the things that he missed. His son is now a freshman in college. And I actually reached out to his wife this weekend. We had kind of lost touch. thankfully baseball had brought us together when I was covering the World Series for Fox. They moved back to Detroit with her family. Mm-hmm. And when the Tigers were really good in 2010 and 2011 and 2012, I would see them during the postseason, and her son would come up on the Fox set and we'd take pictures and he'd hang out and we'd have fun. And I reconnected with her this weekend, which I thought was, it was great.
That's great.
It was great.
Awesome.
Boy, I sit here and think all the time, like even when I'm frustrated with my kids and all that sort of stuff about, it makes me cry, man.
Yeah. It was, I mean, it brought our country together for the, I mean, I don't think we can remember a time since then where we've been together on anything that clearly.
No.
The USA chants and stuff the other day where I know that's taken on a little bit of a different meaning in the last 5 years for some people, for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
But we reverted. I think it broke through that stuff and was. I mean, when Mets and Yankees fan are able to chant the same thing together, that's I think that explains how important it is. So, but yeah, it meant a lot. That day it means a lot for everybody. And even though I don't have a super personal, someone close to me, a loss, yeah. But it was just the way being 11, you're just like, I don't understand. Yep. Like I know what happened. I just don't get how it was possible because of the way that it made you realize so many different things and grow up pretty quick.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for sharing that. Let's talk about where your team is right now. As we tape, you are 3.5 out of the wild card spot, the last wild card spot. It's a lot of teams to jump over.
Mm.
You probably, the fans like to play this game. They look at 17 games left. They say you got to go at least 13-4 to probably even have a chance. Is there talk, you guys, or do you guys just know? Hey, we
know.
Okay,
we know it's not really avoidable. You spend time thinking about this stuff because honestly, even if you're like, I refuse to scoreboard watch, you still have to like figure out what the hell you're doing at the end of the year, right? And that depends on playoffs or not. You got to be like, am I extending my lease? Am I shipping my cars? Am I, when am I going to be home? What am I going to tell people that need me in October? Like, or just hold off. And so you have to scoreboard watch a little bit and be realistic about those things. And that's just reality. Like everyone would love me to say that we're making it. And that's like, but like, that's just not how, like, yes, we do believe that. And we do believe we can win every single day. So like, but you have to take it one day at a time. Again, it goes back to, there's 162 games and the scoreboard watching makes doing your job on a daily basis. I mean, like I have no room for error ever. That makes doing your job so much harder than just being like, I'm going to do my job right this minute. And then we'll worry about the next time I have to do it when I get there. You have to think like that or it just doesn't happen.
Hey, are you like me and you got old sports cards lying around the house? You don't know what to do with them? I got a place you can check out. Greg Morris wants to buy your old sports cards collections. That's right. You got the old pieces of cardboard. You can turn that into cold, hard cash. So what is Greg Morris buying? Any older baseball, basketball, football, hockey cards. So we're talking about anything vintage that is pre-1980. Even older than that, pre-war cards, 1930s, tobacco cards, 19th century cards. If it looks old, Greg Morris wants it. They're going to take modern cards too, especially the ones that have been graded by a third party, PSA, Beckett, all those good places. To find out more and to sell Greg Morris your sports cards collections, go to gregmorriscards.com. Fill out the form there. Somebody will get back to you and how they can give you cash for your old sports cards. Also, follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for the latest updates. Once again, it is gregmorriscards.com. Sell those cards today and get some cold, hard cash. Are these games fun or are they excruciating?
The both. I'm gonna be honest, man. We're on the last Tuesday of the season. We're playing our 17th doubleheader, which is the Mets record by 8. So, to say things have been excruciating and just exhausting and just beating us down through the whole season is an understatement. And this is grueling. We got another kind of gauntlets with a bunch of competing teams or teams that are hanging around or leading their division the next 2 weeks. And we know that that's going to be, we got to find a way to win every day. And that's been exhausting. But the Yankees, I'm going to be honest. Like I said, mindset wise, like there was just a lot of like, let's go find some energy somewhere and figure out a way to like get our adrenaline going here a little bit more here and finish the season strong and see where we're at. But that was easy this weekend, really easy. Like that, I've never been just watching a game on Sunday. Never been so freaking hype. Like, my God, that the Lindor coming up, and he's been getting pretty regularly booed. At least 2 of his bats pretty much every game, unless he was 2 for 2 or something at that point in the game. He could go a whole game without getting booed. But he's getting booed regularly. And again, just disclaimer, I am not saying stop booing him. I'm just saying he is being, okay, I'm just making a statement. I have to be clear about that stuff sometimes. So he is. And then he comes up, and then because of his at bat before and all the altercation and stuff, the Yankees fan were booing him so hard. And to watch Mets fans rise up and out cheer the boos for the guy that has been gently booed for the whole season, it was like not lost on me. I was just like, this is so crazy, and it could only happen here. And their hatred for the people that are booing their player wildly outpaces their disappointment in maybe how he's played this year. And then what happened? Then the best thing ever happened. And against a guy who's just not an easy at bat either. Mm-hmm. But him hitting that, by the way, it hit it directly over me. So it was like, I don't know if you can see, but I'm like pressed against the glass in the bullpen, like just watching over, and just, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm in there. I'm pressed against the glass. No, you can barely see me standing there. And I remember yelling, "You're not going to get that one, Joey." And that was this clutch hype. And I was just so happy for him, man. It's how he did it in Cleveland. He ran off that energy. He is fueled by that stuff, which I think long term, for the 10 years he's going to be here, this is a place where if they give him that energy, he's going to come up with a lot of those type moments.
Hey guys, we know it's not an easy topic, but let's discuss it like adults. We've done it before. We're going to do it again. If you need help with any form of ED, GetRoman.com is the place to help you out. You get a free online evaluation and ongoing care for ED, all in the privacy of your own home. It means no doctor visits. It means you don't have to get any sort of prescription and go to a pharmacy. They actually send it to you. A U.S. licensed healthcare professional will work to find you the best treatment plan. As I mentioned, if medication is appropriate, it ships to you free with 2-day shipping. Getting started, it's real simple. GetRoman.com/JOMBOY now to get $15 off your first month. Once again, it's GetRoman.com/JOMBOY. You get $15 off your first month. Go take care of this so you can take care of business, if you know what I mean. Because, and it all circles back to the booing thing, which
it all comes full circle.
You know, Plouffe and I talked a lot about this on Baseball Today, and I had zero problem with you guys doing this. Zero. Do you know what the biggest mistake in the whole thing was? Javier Baez being honest.
Very, very
That
candid.
was the whole thing that was wrong. Because if he just comes out and says, hey, you know what? It's just something we're doing to fire ourselves up. We haven't been playing real well, so we're just having fun with it. If he just says that, it's a non-story.
Mm-hmm.
But because Javi is so honest and said the truth of what it meant, because I imagine there's a gazillion. You guys aren't the first team to hear the boos from fans and be like,
yeah,
well, that fucking sucks.
Yeah. That's so funny to me too. Like, you're not, like the anecdote of, we're not getting booed, or this guy got booed. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, someone else getting booed doesn't make it better or easier or more right or rational or whatever you want to attribute to it. They're mutually exclusive, even though it's the same act. Like the whole thing, the one that just kept getting quoted over and over again because I went on full PR mode for an off day, which I thought I did pretty good. But I kept getting quoted. Derek Jeter he was hitting 197 after 11 games. Oh, and he got booed in Yankee Stadium once. Same. Like, you're like, no, it's not. It's not, because you guys would never boo him for any length of time. You would do it once after something egregious for a really long time. Then you'd feel bad because he was just, but it was so funny that the anecdote was being thrown out. Paul LaDuca, an ex-player, also said, hey, we just went on a 10-day, we won 10 games on the road. We came home, we got 10 run by the Pirates and they booed us off the field. We just laughed it off. I'd be like, that's not the same situation. You just won 10 straight games. You're now 10-1 in your last 11. You feel a little bit different than we do. It's a difference. You know what I mean? Like, yes, I get it. Like, but you can't just laugh it off all the time, and don't act like you can, because when it happens over and over, the 50th time, you're like, I just want to play and I want to feel good. Like, I want to go out there and be like, man, I'm having fun. Like, you want that again. And you're like, just stop, just remove a couple things and I'll be there. And I can't remove them. Like, they're just in my face all day. And that gets exhausting. And I think that's the culmination. But I also think that this thing happens all the time in all kinds of teams. And they just never say anything about it.
Right.
Including the guys across town. They've done that a few times in the last few years. If some of the guys who are booed regularly will give it to each other because they know, they hear it, and they just poke fun at it. Be like, who that? Look at me. I'm doing it. Like, that's what it is. It's using what people say we boo because we want you to play better. Like, as if it's more motivation and you need that or something. And then you say, okay, but this is actually how I use that as motivation. I do that. It's mine now. I own it. Like, this is part of who I am. I'm going to be booed. So I'm going to use that as power to continue to get better instead of just like being crushed underneath it forever and not being able to play well. Get over it.
It's always been a fascinating discussion for me, because there's always the jerk who wants to call names and all that stuff. I put them in their own category, but then we as fans feel like we want to have a voice. Like we would way much rather cheer than boo. But how do we let you know that it's not? I think the only time it's okay to boo is when you feel like you're not getting 100% effort.
I feel like that's the default. And I feel like different places are going to have different standards. I want to say this. Boo as much as you want, as long as loud as you want. Just know that there's going to be different implications on different things based on where you are and what you're doing. That's just the way it is. If you're like, hey, we should be able to boo whenever the hell we want, I believe you should. I don't think anyone should change anything they're doing. But players start doing this to each other. It's happening. They want to do it. They're commentating.
Right.
Why do they have to change their behavior, but you're not going to? You know what I mean? It's just just let people be who they are and take it for what it actually is supposed to be, and do your best with it. So that's the thing. I want New York fans to continue to be exactly who they are, and I will take the steps to remove the noise that I need to take to remove the noise on my end, because asking them to change is, first of all, futile, and second of all, they shouldn't have to. It's their identity, and it's probably the thing that fans here have the most pride in is their ability, or is that like, we tell you our feelings immediately, and those feelings might just absolutely freaking 0 to 100 both ways within instance several times a game. That's just what's going to happen, and that's how it should be, and they shouldn't change. And us as a player group and as an organization should take steps to, like, maybe just sand down the edges that are being bombarded in our face all the time, and make it a little bit easier. Even though that stuff's still happening, everyone should be, it's a win-win at that point. I feel like.
Did you guys have a meeting? Because Alderson said we're going to talk about it. Yeah. Did you guys have a meeting?
Yes, we did. Several of us got up and talked without getting into specifics, but I got a little bit of a time to talk to the room, and Frankie talked, and Bias talked, and McCann talked, and we just we just said we just went over a lot of the why things are different here, especially from two guys who came from smaller markets, came here, and just myself looking out on things that um there are times where everyone's got a job to do. The media has a job to do. Like you said, fans want to feel included to an extent. Some fans want to feel included more than others, right? Like they want to be more part of the decision making process, whether or not they have expertise on the subject or not. And that's more prevalent here than where I was, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, there are certain types of input that you have to really take to heart, and others that you got to kind of just nod at and go. And sometimes you can't let people who actually don't make decisions run stuff or run your brain, like run where your mind's at a lot, or be like living here. And we have a little bit of media and stuff that we give a little bit too much time a day in terms of just like when they write stuff that's just like inherently stupid, which happens there, and they know who they are. So I don't need to call anybody out, but they're not trying to hide it or do better. That's who they are. And that's what they're going to do to get people to click on the tweets. So, and that's, again, another thing that's just doesn't need to change. It's not going to change. No one's going to take any sort of, steps, and that's fine. It's just something you have to navigate as a player here. But we just talked a lot about how we can control noise and narrative. And sometimes noise and narrative gets a little out of control. And we have ability to block some of the stuff out in that we could do a little better job of. I think that was just kind of the general gist. Just like, let's give Frankie Lindor, who's our spokesman and gets in front of the media every day and takes accountability for not only his own play, but like everyone's play, our whole team's play over and over and over again. And that's exhausting. Maybe we could limit that a little bit. Like sometimes he doesn't need to be accountable for stuff that's not his thing to do. Maybe take it off his shoulders for a day. So he gets a day to not think about every problem that we all have, everyone's problems. He can just worry about his own.
I know, but that's part of the reason, in my opinion, he got paid what he got paid is because, and I can just tell you this just from being a lifelong Lindor fan, I've never seen a guy come up with the Indians, A, play as well as he did on both sides of the ball, but B, I know exactly who he is.
Yeah.
I know exactly who he is. And
there's
I just hope that
nothing fake there,
that this year doesn't dampen his spirit.
It won't. And I think that he's just, it's a learning experience. He's battling through some stuff that he's never had to do before. Right. I can say that I've been in the same boat at times, and other guys have been. And I think in general, he has taken it in his stride, though. Like, he has not shirked from anything. He could have very easily been like, I'm not talking to the media today. He's not once done that. And I would say that the less noise that players have to deal with, that's just like not constructive. That is, like, there's a difference between constructive and non-constructive. A lot of non-constructive stuff. A lot of people who are, that's not their interest, is like, they say they want you to win, but in reality, they just want to say whatever they want. The less a player in any market on any team has to deal with the stuff and only has to deal with playing baseball, generally they play up closer to their potential. That's all I'm saying. So,
well, I mean, that's what they
it's
say.
It's in everyone's interest to like pump dudes up. It's in everyone's interest. That's what we all say. Everyone says that. And there's got to be actions mapping with words here. Like, you got to actually like do the thing that you say, like, to get the result you want. Now, that only goes so far. Obviously, it just helps. That's all I'm saying. It's just beneficial. And why not? It's like, why not? And it's not like I need you to tweet, hey, you got this, at them all the time. It's just like, it's mostly like, let's just maybe not get on their case this one time, right?
I'm with you. I do ask you this out of respect, though. Would you have booed you?
Oh, I deserve, no, 100%. I wanted to boo me. I wanted to boo me, especially after the jab at how the dimensions of Yankee Stadium, which is so funny to me. It's like, people were very angry at shade. Like, it was shit. I'm like, guys, I just mentioned that homers don't need to go as far in the stadium. It's just that's just like
right. You said something that was so benign. I get it.
I like looked around. I'm like, the stadium was literally built for that purpose. On that, with that in mind, our guys will have more success here if we have it like this. And they're like, oh, that's great. Let's do it. That's it. And then you just be like, yeah, oh yeah, just like Cincinnati, much better place to hit than Citi Field. Not saying change it. Again, everyone assumes saying like this needs to be fixed. I've never said it any. It's like I'm making a comment like, yeah, we all agree that short distance from the home plate to the line is shorter than most places, right? We all agree with that. Cool. That's all. And it was LOL. Haha. I even laughed. He didn't take it as a joke. He took it as this is gonna be my highlight or my headline. And then of course what happens? And that same person, you know what he asked me after the game? I don't know if you knew this. I got asked 2 questions after the game. I've talked to the media 3 times this year. Okay. Once on opening day, once like in the middle of the season somewhere in today. So that means I've been doing generally my job pretty well for the whole year, if you don't talk to me that much. I got asked, how do you think your outing went? Great.
I can answer that. What wasn't?
And then the second one was, would Judge's homer been out of Yankee Stadium?
No. Did somebody really ask that?
The same guy who wrote the article. And he goes, the fans would have asked me to do it. And I said, I don't care. But what I actually said, I'm like, yes. I'm like, let's do the math. 413-foot home run, 340-foot fences, 73 feet. Yes, it would have been 73 feet out. It was hit very hard. And it was a terrible pitch. And that guy is really, really good, as seen by what he did the night before and also what he did yesterday. He's a very, very good clutch player. He hit it, and I was like, well, F me. I really, really wanted it to be just popped up, but it wasn't, and that's it. But would I have booed myself in that situation? Yes, especially playing the Yankees, especially in the Subway Series, especially being up by 3 or 2 and blowing the lead, especially on September 11th, 20th anniversary. All of those things would not only would I boo myself, I would have booed myself hoarse. Like I would have booed myself to where no one had voices anymore. That's how mad I would have been, and I deserved every ounce of that. And I deserve it every time. So I don't think they are struggling on when. I think they do always boo at good times. It's just like you can make a case every time. Does that make sense? Yeah. But sometimes you just like need to up and be like, well, let's move on.
Yeah. So 99.9% of the people that are listening to this, including yours truly, don't know what it's like to get booed. Like, okay, I get hate on Twitter, like, oh, you suck. You're the worst. So-and-so should fire you. That is different than hearing boos cascading down on you. Like maybe the first time you heard it, were you like, Jesus, this hurts.
Yeah. I mean, being around long enough now too, crowd noise is, I don't know, dampened.
You can't hear it.
You're aware of it, but it's not like, you're not like, I feel like you, to fully, what you would do is like, you'd be able to like see someone who is booing at you and then they get louder to you and then you do it again. And they get that. I feel like that's like that's like, you want to hide. I never want to hide. I just walk through it. It just kind of like bounces off me, but you do feel it, even if it is muted a little bit. Because if you took it like personally every time, there's no way you'd play this game longer than a month. There's no way. You'd never come up again if you melted. And then it becomes something in the back of your mind when you're pitching. It snowballs. So you're like, oh, I don't want to get booed again. And that really hurt. So you can't let it hurt you that much. It can sting. And that one stung more than anyone in my career, simply because of the situation. And because of, how many times I watched the Piazza homer, like 1 million times, so you know what I mean? Like they're like, and the Mets also win this game. Like this is our game we're supposed to win because we are the first team to play. You know what I mean? Like there was a value attributed to it. So you don't want to be the guy. I was the guy. I was the guy, and I deserved it all. I deserved everything that came at me.
When you got home, I know you're really good at compartmentalizing things, but did Kate say anything? Just like, hey, how was work, honey? Like no, that doesn't work here.
She knew. I use her as my therapist sometimes, but it actually wasn't too bad. Wasn't too bad, and it gets harder too as the season goes, just to like let stuff bounce off you because there's not as many outings. You're exhausted. You're physically exhausted, but you're also mentally exhausted from like, I mean, I pitched 60 times. So like 60 times I've got up and been like, let's go, like 60 times. So towards it, like you're like, every time it gets a little bit harder, kind of muster the Hulk up over and over again. So there's a little bit of that, but then also goes towards like your anger. I was more like I said, like I keep saying, I was more embarrassed. I was like, I was truly like, I was humiliated more than like mad about the outing. Yeah, I can give it 3 hits, give a single in three pitches, a homer in 2 pitches, and then with 3-2 on Stanton, he hit a single. That's literally all that happened. So like from a standpoint, yeah, you give up 3 straight hits, but that's happened a bunch of times. Like it just happened to be the timing. And then I didn't pitch to anybody else. So like it wasn't like I went out there, walked 4, gave up, walked in a run, and then gave up a grand slam, got pulled, and just could not throw a strike. I was getting ahead of guys. I just didn't get the job done.
Yeah.
So from that standpoint, that's no different than any other outing. It's just it was a humiliating in just how plugged in I am and stuff. I was like, oh God, from every direction, this is gonna suck. But the next night, I looked and I go, Chad Green, he's getting the exact same thing. Literally the next night. And two seasons ago, we had the massacre in Minnesota with the Yankees where we like went back and forth. There was like 10 blown saves in 3 games, and we back and forth. Remember when Hicks caught that diving play in the
to end the game
to win 14-12?
Yeah.
That game had like 17 lead changes, and every single reliever blew it. It was like watching your reliever, all your buddies walk over a shark tank and fall in. They're like, hey, you're up. And I didn't pitch. I had pitched poorly the last series, so they were like, they shelved me. And I was like, and I'm going to be honest, I was like, dude, I mentally could not handle pitching in the series right now. Like, this is crazy. Duffy blew one for the first time in ever. Littell blew one. Rogers gave up a 2-run homer to Hicks. Britton gave up a 3-run homer to Sano. And Chapman walked in the tying run in the 9th. Like, it was every good pitcher in the league just was like having an off night at the same time. And I was like, keep me out. I'll be the last one out here. If we go into 14th, I'll pitch, but like, just don't even try. This is awful. So it's that team, man. It's that team, and I keep playing on teams. I keep playing on teams with like added significance to their matchups with the Yankees, which is a lot of brain energy, but also just so fun. So
I'll finish with this because I can see it wearing on your face. Is this the most tired you've ever been?
Yeah, I'm very tired. I'm extremely tired, but that has to do with turning 32 in 9 days, being in season 15. Like, it's not like I've, it's just, this is all that's going to happen.
And New York.
And it's New York. Well, New York's got most to do with it. And it's just takes a lot. Everything. I say add 30% onto anything you need to do. Getting groceries, going to the field, flying anywhere, going anywhere, traveling, coming back. It's just going to be 30% harder than it was last year with the Twins. Like, everything's going to be a little bit longer, a little bit harder, a little bit more effort, a little bit more patience. And I knew that going in, but I didn't know how exactly it would manifest. And it was also, I was attributing a lot, like, if you just pitch good, it'll be fine. Right. But that's just not, even if you pitch great all year, there's still going to be times where it's hard no matter what. So, it's just, it's been a really interesting thing, but no matter what, I'm just like, if you can survive and do things here and have success and like and go out and do your job consistently in this city, you can literally do it anywhere. Like, you can do anything anywhere. You can do any high pressure job anywhere. And I don't want the people that love this team I don't want Yankees fans to change it all. I don't want Mets fans to change it all. I want them to keep being their insane selves without obviously hurting each other. But because we saw about 85 people thrown out before in brawls. It was crazy. I mean, there was a drink thrown at Judge once, and we all had to come out and like get that guy out of here. And he was mad, but he was also like, you could tell he was like, but I see this all the time. I see the other team getting thrown at literally every game. So, but it's so unique. It's like it's something I'll always forget and or always remember. Sorry. And when I have kids, I don't have any kids yet. They're gonna know non-baseball Trevor May. They're not gonna know me. as a baseball player at all. Probably they're not even going to be old enough when I'm retired to even know that what I'm doing. And so these stories, like I used to play for the Mets, I played in New York. We used to live in New York City, like because we're going to live in. They're going to be like, "Mom and Dad used to live in New York City." Like that's going to be crazy. And I'm trying to find a little bit of happiness in that and excitement in that. That's really unique. That's something that's an experience, good, bad, or indifferent in the time is going to be something I'll never forget. So I'm trying to think about it that way. And I'm so glad I have another year to continue to improve and help this team and this organization continue to get better. Cause I feel like we are, if we go through our clubhouse though, everyone who was here last year and this year, they will say that we are better this year than last year. And that is important. It's really important.
It is. It's still New York.
It's still New York.
Thank you for sharing all that.
Yeah. I'm so glad we had an episode. I couldn't remember if we talked about the booing thing or the thumbs down thing last time, but I guess
it's been a while.
So.
Well, yeah, I've explained this to everybody. I didn't do a good enough job with my co-hosts letting you know about my schedule. I had a very, very small window of being able to shoot Rose rotations because I was taping BattleBots in Las Vegas for 2+ weeks.
Yes, of
but
course.
You'll be excited to see season 6. I want you to watch it.
I will.
It's going to be very good. It'll be out in December.
Awesome.
Yeah. So there you go. Hey, gang. You like what I'm wearing today? Cool t-shirt with JOMBOY Media. Let's spin the wheel of moderately interesting things and let you get about your day job when the Mets make this remarkable run, and then all of a sudden you're playing either the Dodgers or Giants in that wild card game.
Yeah, give me the West Coast.
You have a couple new categories, and it did not end up on one of those. It ended up on OnlyFans.
Not OnlyFans, OnlyFans.
Yes. I'm putting the emphasis on the other syllable. OnlyFans is not what you think it is. A little delinquent. It is, what is your favorite sports team outside of like the one you play for currently? Like the one you're most passionate about?
One I'm most passionate about that I'm not on. Seahawks. I think I'd say I follow them mostly because it's an off-season thing, and my buddies all follow pretty closely. So that's when we get together the most is during Seahawks games. So I'm though I'm not up to date. I know there's a lot of new faces on the team this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not quite up to date on everybody, but I'm sure I will get. But DK,
well, they just had a very impressive win last Sunday in Indianapolis. It's
is Indianapolis supposed to be good this year?
Yeah, they're interesting. They've got a lot of moving parts. They've got a new quarterback, obviously, in Carson Wentz, the former Eagles guy. They're going to be okay, I think. I think that they're fighting through a lot of issues is my point. But the Seahawks are part of nobody lost in that division. Niners won, Rams won, Cardinals really impressive on the road in Nashville. That is going to be a tough division, the NFC West. Be very interesting.
It will be.
Did you watch like when they won the Super Bowl against the Broncos, Super Bowl 48? Did you have like a big viewing party or something?
Yeah, big Super Bowl party. And as soon as Cam Chancellor almost killed Thomas,
yes,
we were like, this is not gonna be good for them.
Well,
or no, what was it? They got a safety.
Yeah, it was on the first snap of the game.
First snap of the game was a safety,
no Sean Moreno had to go cover it.
Then the Seahawks scored a touchdown. It was 9-0, and then 9-0, and then they got the ball back in the first play. They threw across the middle to Thomas, and Chancellor just almost just destroyed him. And we're like, this is not going to be close, and it wasn't.
Nope,
it's awesome.
No, the next year, by the way, we have to watch in a green room, and I do the post game show on the field. So Super Bowl 49 against the Patriots. Sorry to bring this up, but the Seahawks locker room was right next to our green room. So they all had to walk past to go onto the field. After the interception that Russell threw, Malcolm Butler picks it off. There's still 30 seconds left, but a bunch of the Seahawks walked off the field, and they're like, fucking, I can't believe that we threw the ball. Fuck them. Marshawn's walking past our room like, he's just laughing and shaking his head like, can't believe they didn't give it to me. I was like, oh, my God. Like, this is literally, I'm watching it unfold on TV, and all the guys that just played in it are walking past this door opening that I have to go out of to get onto the field. I was like, this is unbelievably raw. I better take a mental snapshot of this one.
I also think that play was an audible. I think that's been pretty widely discussed. I remember Pete went out and took full responsibility for it, but I'm pretty sure that Russell audible to it, knowing that there had been no touchdowns thrown in the red zone all year, or no interceptions, not one. And that was the first one all season. It was like 60 and 0 or some stuff.
All I know is that high school Trevor May would not have thrown that INT.
I mean, I might have thrown it into the stand somehow. That was my issue, was throwing high too much.
Or you would have handed
surprise. Trevor can't throw down. Crazy.
All right, dude. It's great catching up with you. Let's finish up strong. I would love nothing more than to see another member of the Rose rotation get into the postseason.
I would love to. And I think that going from this point, we sneak into the postseason, we will be hot. And that is what you want to be. So
that is true.
If you think about it, like you're just lining it up to be as hot as you can possibly be to go into the playoffs. That's a sweet spot to be. Ask was it the 08 Rockies?
No, the 07
Rockies when they won 20 or like 19 straight to end the season.
Yeah, where Matt Holliday still hasn't touched home. Yeah.
Matt Holliday still hasn't touched home. And they went, where'd they get beat? They got beat in the NLCS?
No, they got beat in the World Series because they had like 10 days off between, beating the Diamondbacks.
They swept all the way through, and then they got swept.
Yes.
Right?
That's exactly what happened.
Who won 07?
Red Sox. My buddy Mikey Lowell was the World Series MVP.
Oh, yeah.
But, of course, if you're an Indians fan, you just remember losing a 3-1 lead to the Red Sox in the ALCS. We would have won the World Series that year. I'm convinced.
When else did they lose 3-1? That's not a good series to be in.
2016, it happened.
You got to sweep, man.
Wow, you're really hammered. My God, thanks.
I grew up a Mariners fan, man. Like hey, remember that one time when we won that one series? We got beat in the LCS.
Hey, listen,
one time.
It's okay. You all had A-Rod, Griffey, and Unit all on the same team, and you guys won a playoff series, so it was a good try by you.
We didn't win when we won 116 games.
I know.
Didn't beat in the LDS.
I know.
That stuff. Was that the Yankees too? I think.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Clemens had a game.
I have a special relationship. With
the Yankees.
I've played for the two teams. I'd say that dislike play. Well, no, I don't think the Mets actually do. It was weird how downplayed the players here were. Like, man, it's whatever. It's not really. It doesn't really mean anything, but it is both of our fan bases. It's big for them. But for players in Minnesota, it's the win-loss thing. So it was different. It was on you. It wasn't your fan bases. It was you guys. But it is a little bit less. We fed off their clashing to clash. Does that make sense? But it's not like inherent, I don't think, as much as it is in Minnesota, which is weird to say. But I'd say that I was watching the game yesterday and they were talking about the stats. It's like 108 and 38 against them in the last 150 games. That's
mind-numbing.
Yeah, that's a lot.
All right, bud. Hopefully we'll catch up at some point, maybe during the amazing playoff run by the Mets.
Yeah.
And if not,
no matter where I'm at, what's happening, whatever, I'm going to be doing all kinds of this type of stuff, even in November and December also. So if you need me, let me know.
I definitely will. I appreciate you. And I appreciate you guys for listening and watching and consuming everything here on JOMBOY Media. Special shout out to our editor extraordinaire and our producer, Robbie Scirocco, and our summer intern, Alden Stone, as well. Thanks for tuning into the Chris Rose Rotation, a production of JOMBOY Media.